Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
Banner 18. Jay King, Jam, Packard and the B-Roll.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
The Jay-Z White in the catalog.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
The kids are legends to go.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable, Still Poddable. Boston Celtics, Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
I just had to go to a bathroom.
Welcome back to Still Poddable, the best podcast in the world covering the Boston Celtics as they go for not their title defense, but their title attack for Banner 19. I am Sam Jam Packard, joined by Jay King from The Athletic. And this is the weekly free edition of Still Poddable. We are a Monday through Friday podcast. So if you want all of that amazing content, go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Today is the free episode. That means we are on the CLNS YouTube page. It also means we are brought to you by Prize Picks and Game Time. If you want to use the code CLNS on either of those apps, you can save some money. So we appreciate them. But again, we are Monday through Friday, every single day of the season. We got tremendous content. And so go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Join the Still Poddable community today. And Jay, we're back, baby. There's actual stuff to talk about. There is a media day. The Celtics had practice today. You're back at the job. Let's ask about that.
They had 1.5 practices today.
What do you mean? Explain.
They have 2 days scheduled for every day of training camp, but they're only going to go until they finish what they need to finish. And so they went 1.5 practices today.
How do they know? That's flustered. I'm flustered.
That just really rattled you.
It's not a 2-a-day then. It's a 1+ a day. What if they need to? What if it takes more than 2 practices? Would they go to 3?
It might be never ending. I'm not really sure. We haven't reached that point yet.
And this is what Joe Mazzulla revealed today after the 1.5 practices, or is this
correct?
Okay, got you. Well, first I got to ask Jay, how does it feel for you to be back? You know, this is your coming off paternity leave. Do you think you've lost a step? Do you think you are still pretty good at holding the mic in a scrum? I saw some pictures of the Lonnie Walker scrum today. I didn't think your mic hold was that great, but you know, I'm in Philadelphia, so I don't know.
My mic hold is fine. It's the whole writing thing that's really giving me problems right now. Not that I was ever a good writer in the first place.
Give yourself some credit.
I really, really forgot how to use my brain while I was on paternity leave. And turning it back on is not easy.
It's a good thing for you. The Celtics are starting a little early. You got some more time to kind of get back into the groove of things before they actually start playing games that matter there in October. I know you and B-Rob talked about Media Day yesterday and kind of your takes, but, you know, I'm a takesman. I need to get my takes off. And I think the most fascinating part about yesterday is the scientific method the Celtics have adopted. Last year, Jason Tatum added 12 pounds of muscle, completely threw off his jump shot. This year, Jaylen Brown added 10 pounds of muscle. And so that's smart. That's just recalibrating. That's the perfect amount of muscle you need to add.
Did the muscle actually ruin his jump shot?
I don't know. I mean, we also learned yesterday that he had mechanical issues in the jump shot. And so I'm not saying there's a direct causation, but there's a correlation.
I'm saying he put on the muscle prior to the regular season, and then he shot 37.6% in the regular season, which was his best mark since 2020-21.
Maybe he didn't maintain the 12 pounds of muscle. That's it. That's fair. I said it was a scientific theory. There's all you just got to keep asking the right questions. But totally noticeable. As you mentioned in yesterday's podcast, Jaylen looks jacked. He also looks like he's 24 years old because he shaved his beard. But is
I was looking at him. I was like, "What's different?" I know he's not. Doesn't look the same. It did not strike me that he got, because he sort of still has like a little growth. It's not like he got rid of it entirely. Maybe he did at one point, but took me a little while to realize that he actually had shaved.
Here's my question about Jaylen Brown. Do you believe him when he says he did the cliche best shape of his life? But do you believe him when he said he worked harder this summer than he has in every other summer? Because he also said all the past summers he has had his heart broken. And so do you believe him when he said he was able to generate that much motivation to work harder than he ever has in the past after coming off what was his most successful season as a pro?
Well, that's the challenge, right? Can you find that motivation after winning? Can you find that motivation while at the top to keep getting better? He's always been someone who has improved year after year. Last year, part of what separated him was, to me, he's always been in great shape. Last year, he was in elite shape. Like, there are a few guys who just never tire. And I would put Steph Curry in that list, where like he can run around all day and you're going to tire running around trying to stop him, and he never will. And Jaylen was one of those few guys last year where it was just like, no matter how much responsibility the Celtics put on him, and they put a lot on him. Sometimes it was shadowing Luka Doncic full court. Other times it was whoever else. He was up for the challenge and ready to do it and didn't wear down ever. And so I do believe him when he said last year he was in the best shape, because it was clear like he was in rare physical conditioning. Today we watched him after 1.5 practices and he was doing a shooting drill that looked really, really hard, where he was sprinting from one corner to the other and then shooting one, and then sprinting to the other and shooting one and sprinting to the other. So I would guess he's still a hard worker. Whether he's missing something motivationally because they did win, we'll see. But he's always been motivated. I don't think he was only motivated because they lost. He's just somebody who's just always going to try to get better.
Yeah, he's gotten better every single year. And you mentioned him being in great shape. Like that clip that sticks out to me from the finals where he's like, if Luka stays in, I'm staying in. He had the ability.
You froze for a second.
I was saying great stuff. I was saying amazing things. Am I back now?
You're back.
The clip that from Jaylen from last year in the finals where he's like, if Luka stays in, I stay in. I think it just shows like that's in the finals. That's after the entire season. His just being in fantastic shape on the defensive end. Well, this is annoying. Why am I freezing?
It might be me freezing. Somebody's freezing, but
all I'm trying to say is Jaylen Brown's good. That's all I'm trying to say. He released a new sneaker brand, 741. Did you take a gander at his new shoes?
Okay.
They look
sometimes audio quality just doesn't. I did see his shoes. I'm probably not the best judge of shoes, but
you have to have an aesthetic taste at some point, Jay. You have to like look at something and be like, I think that looks good or look bad.
It looked fine to me. It's not the greatest shoe I've ever seen. It's not the worst shoe I've ever seen. I wouldn't say it's ugly.
It's the middleman Jay, just not having a take. I think it's got weird
That is my take. That is my take.
It's not a take. That's not a take at all.
That's absolutely a take. It's a fine shoe. Why is that not a take? Do I have to have a scorching hot take? Do I have to love it or hate it? No, it can be right down the middle.
Jay, we're trying to make it in this basketball takes game. You know, that's a take like that's never going to get you on ESPN next to Richard Jefferson or Kendrick Perkins. And I just think you're limiting yourself when you kind of just don't be intentionally outrageous in such a manner.
Fine. They're the greatest shoes I've ever seen. I've never seen a pair of sneakers better designed than Jaylen Brown's new 741 brand sneaker. It's the greatest gift to humanity that's ever been designed.
Now you're just being a homer. No, you got to be negative when you're talking about these extreme takes. Apparently, it turned down.
Those shoes suck. There
you go. There you go. Apparently, turned down $50 million from other people to make his own company, which I think is cool. I think it's players creating that. It's got to be interesting. Speaking of bad takes,
I feel like that's such a. I mean, who knows how much he actually will have an involvement in that? But I feel like it's just so much easier to just sign a shoe deal than to create your own company.
Jaylen Brown doesn't take the easy way out.
No.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, there's probably a lot more to running a shoe company than one guy can deal with. But yeah, I guess he has the Juice brand, and so we'll see. He's been in the merchandise game for a while. I don't understand why he needs to start a new company then. Now that I'm talking out loud, but
let's take a break here to hear from our sponsor, Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. It's the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps on Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch the winnings roll in. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, which I think is very useful so that your lineups stay in play even if one of your players get injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, your picks are still live. I know personally with Prize Picks, I'll be looking at the NFL season here. Jacoby Brissett is going to be the quarterback for the Patriots, so I'll be looking what his passing yards are out of the gate. Probably will take the under on that one. So download the Prize Picks app today and use the code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks, run your game.
Speaking of bad takes, Richard Jefferson said today that if you just swapped places with Jason Tatum and Donovan Mitchell, the Celtics still would have won the championship. Agree or disagree? And I acknowledge fully that I'm doing the thing where I'm engaging in a bad take and giving it more life because I want to talk about it. And so I'm doing the exact thing that the bad take is designed to do. And I acknowledge that up front, but I thought that was laughable. I just don't think Donovan Mitchell's as good, or just he's 6 inches or 8 inches shorter than Jason Tatum. I just don't think it works that way.
That's the problem. Could they have won a title with Donovan Mitchell? Maybe. They were loaded. They were head and shoulders better than everybody. If you sub in Donovan Mitchell for Jason Tatum, and Donovan Mitchell is awesome. He gave the Celtics problems during much of that playoff series. Yeah, maybe they do win a title. I don't think it's too outrageous to think that a team that went 15-3 during the playoffs would still win 4 games in every series with a different all-star instead of Jason Tatum. The thing that gets just totally tossed aside in that conversation is just why Jason Tatum is so valuable to the Celtics, because he is 6'8", because he can defend anybody, because he did defend centers in the playoffs so that the Celtics could stay out of pick and rolls and not get hurt by pick and rolls and not have their defensive integrity dented. And you could put anybody around him. Does Derek White, Drew Holiday, and Donovan Mitchell work defensively? Probably not. At least they're not the best defensive team out there. And could Donovan Mitchell guard centers in the Dallas series so that Luka and Kyrie aren't free to navigate pick and rolls and just pick on people? No, absolutely not. He's not guarding Daniel Gafford and those guys the way that Jason Tatum does. So is Donovan Mitchell great at basketball? Yes. Could they have possibly won a title? I don't think it's totally out of the realm of possibility that if you sub Donovan Mitchell onto the 64-win Celtics, they still win a title in what was really a pretty down year for other teams around the league. There was no challenger to the Boston Celtics on their level. But the whole conversation is just so dumb, because having Tatum and Brown, who for years it was like, can you win with them? You can definitely win with them. They did win basically every year of their career, but they also make team building so much easier because they can do a little bit of everything. And no matter what type of player you put around them, as long as it's not like a ball stopping, just bucket getter who only wants to do that and nothing else, anything else works around them. They can play in small lineups. They can play in big lineups. They can play in giant defensive-minded groups. They can play in shooting groups. They can do anything. Donovan Mitchell, as great as he is, doesn't have that value.
That was one of the interesting things about Jason Tatum's comments about he has all these, like 6 things he needed to fix with the mechanics of his shot. One, I just think that's interesting that he's able to identify, like, I was surprised at the length of things that were kind of problematic there. But the second part of his comments where he was like, yeah, this was a problem for me in the playoffs, but I had to go out and focus on winning basketball games and doing all of that in the other ways. And like, it's cliche at this point, Joe Mazzulla defining success in different ways, where he's like, I'm still contributing to winning. I don't need to like break down my entire game and fix this like mechanics in my shot. I need to do everything else on the basketball court. And I think that's part of what makes Jason Tatum great. And I think it's interesting that it's presented as like a choice like that. It's like, I can either go out there and just like keep contributing winning, or I can like really change up my game and focus on like trying to fix these shot mechanics. And I don't know how necessarily you go out and fixing the shot mechanics, especially in the playoffs. I assume it's just taking a bunch of shots, but he, needed to rest in between games. But I did think it was interesting. It's like he could noticeably have this problem that he had in the playoffs and just be like, but I'm going to go out and just do everything else and deliver my team a championship.
It's like, I compared it to golf yesterday, but I'm going to do it again. It's like, you're not going to mess with your swing like after Friday at a tournament, like going into the weekend. You're going to mess with your swing during the offseason when you're not scheduled to play tournaments. And so, yeah, you don't reconfigure your swing during the middle of the playoffs. You just hope you swing a little better.
I mean, some guys might, though. I feel like if your scorer, if your main job on the team is to be a scorer and you have a hitch in your shot, you might do everything you can to kind of fix that because that's your lone way of contributing to the team. But as you mentioned in the comparison to Donovan Mitchell, he's doing so much to contribute to the team that maybe it was less necessary. You saw bits and pieces of practice today. I saw Gary Washburn tweeted out a clip. Is his shot fixed yet? Your thoughts?
It's probably still really good. Like it's been his whole career. Like he can be a streaky shooter though. Like he does go on like months where he doesn't shoot as well. And then he'll rattle off like 41, 42% for a few months stretch. So my guess would be that he'll end up somewhere with a pretty good percentage of the season. I also guess that whenever the playoffs roll around, he probably won't shoot 20% again. Just a hunch.
All right. How confident are you in a public forum to be like, I can pick out the things in Jason Tatum's shot now? Like if you see him take a shot in practice, be like, oh, low shoulder on that one. Because I am not at all. There's some people who are very confident on Twitter and be like, oh, look at that hitch. And I'll be like, you don't know what the hell you're talking about.
Yeah, no, I'm not going to sit here and pretend to know exactly what Jason Tatum is thinking about when he releases a shot.
You're not grinding the all 22?
I watched all the tape. I've watched every shot of his career. And I've just, yeah. But it'd be fun to do. Sit down with Drew Hanlon and break down Jason Tatum's shots. That'd be cool.
Maybe you could write a story about it if you ever learn how to write again.
I probably won't.
Yeah, we'll see. You got time before the season starts. The other big news I want to touch on, I don't believe Kristaps Porzingis when he said he's going to be back by December. And this is partly to save my own just approach and mental health. Because then if he does come back by December, it will be cool. But when is a big man ever, just a guy who's that tall, ever come back early from an injury? I don't really know what the injury is, if I'm being completely honest. I know it's in his general ankle area. And I know you guys talked about it. He's going through contact drills. He's running. But when has a big man ever come back from a serious leg injury and has it gone well?
Well, first of all, like nobody has ever had this injury in NBA history.
That doesn't help me think it's going to be good. I feel like that makes it more likely that it'll go worse.
From what I've been told, it's not like this super complicated fix. It's just like it needed surgery because it needed it, but it's not going to be like some crazy complicated fix. Also, he didn't just say he said the expectation is a December return. He said hopefully he'll get back before that. So everything sounds really optimistic about Kristaps so far. I was surprised by the level of optimism surrounding his injury and recovery, both from him and from the team. The
team part's crazy. The team has always been like, add 3 weeks to the expected timetable because they don't want to put pressure on the player to come back. So that's the part where it's like the optimistic side of me is like,
he's already running. He's already doing light contact work. It's September still. Like, usually when guys get to that level, obviously it's not like the same with every injury, but that's a really good sign that he's already running. Good stuff from KP.
How selfless do you think Luke Cornett and Xavier Tillman are hearing that news? Do you think they're like, yes, KP's back? Or they're like, damn it, there goes my 20 minutes a game?
That's a good question. I would guess there's got to be a little bit of like, damn it, for
like,
each
I
guy.
thought I had an opportunity to like solidify myself. They're back on both. No, Tillman's back on a multi-year deal, right? Cornett's only one.
Yeah, but at the same time, like part of what makes them like good locker room guys for the Celtics and guys that the Celtics wanted to keep around is that they're okay with not playing a lot. They're okay with just sitting on the end of the bench and working out every day and trying to get better every day and not necessarily seeing the results on the court. So I would guess internally there's a little bit of that, but externally it doesn't show at all.
That's fair. There's a reason, like, they came back to the Celtics, neither of them thinking that they were like the missing piece. Like, obviously, they knew what was
you don't go back to the Celtics if your primary objective is to play a lot of minutes.
Yes.
There were other places where those guys probably could have played more, but they wanted to be around in Boston.
Football season is back, and it is your opportunity to get in on the action with Game Time. Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. Game Time Picks makes it easier to save on sports, concert, comedy, theater, and more. Any tickets that you want, you can get through the Game Time app. They have all-in pricing. This feature allows you to show the total up front with no surprise fees at checkout. Seat views, panoramic views from the seat in the app before you buy. That comes with a lowest price guarantee, or if not, Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. And then Game Time ticket coverage. Your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app today, create an account, and use the promo code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time.
All right, let's take a break here to hear from our sponsor, Factor. Warmer, sunnier days are calling. Feel for them with Factor's no prep, no mess meals. I know personally, at home, myself, my wife, my son Zach, getting mealtime ready is a big chore a lot. So Factor's fresh, never frozen meals are dietitian approved and ready to eat in just 2 minutes. So no matter how busy you are, you'll always have time to enjoy nutritious, great tasting meals. Make today the day you kickstart a new healthy routine. What are you waiting for? There's 35 different meals to choose, more than 60 add-ons to choose from every week. So you'll have a new variety to choose from. You can make every day delicious from breakfast to dessert. Stay fueled with easy, nutritious options. Keep kitchen time to the minimum. That's been huge for us. No shopping, no prepping, cooking, or cleaning up. They're ready for you. Just warm them up and enjoy effortless support for your lifestyle. Choose from 6 menu preferences to help you manage calories, maximize protein intake, avoid meat, or simply eat well-balanced. So head to factormeals.com/greenteam50 and use code greenteam50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month. That's code GreenTeam50 at factormeals.com/GreenTeam50 to get 50% off your first box plus 20% off your next month while your subscription is active. And now back to the show.
Besides 1.5 practices, what else happened today at the Auerbach Center? Who spoke? What'd you learn? Fill me in on the scoop.
The Celtics played basketball without the possibility of putting the ball in the basket.
Well, so how did the ball change from team to team?
It's a new Joe Mazzulla thing. They played a scrimmage, according to Sam Hauser, who told me that they played a scrimmage with bubbles on the rims. And the way you kept score was you scored by getting steals, rebounds, blocks, like forcing turnovers, whatever. And there was no possibility of scoring.
So was there a shot clock? Are they people taking shots?
They were taking shots. I think they were like playing real basketball with a bubble over the rim.
So wild. Where did Joe Mazzulla learn this one?
I asked Sam, and he said I think it was his own brain, if I had to guess, but I don't know. I'm not sure. I just know that they played a scrimmage without being.
That's what they needed to get done in the 1.5 practices. That's wild. I like it. I guess it's just like talking about you need to put effort in on, like, we're too obsessed with scoring sometimes, but that's got to be hard to play. Like, I just don't know what you do at the end of the shot clock, and you just know maybe it's freeing to not have to have the pressure of scoring. You just kind of throw it up, but that's wild.
Yeah.
Wild stuff. Joe Mazzulla just hated the offseason coming up with crazy, insane things.
They also have new lines on the court. Like, there are arrows on the court, at least one of the practice courts, that go from the 3-point arc to the side of the paint. And then there's like little squares and rectangles. And again, I asked Hauser, and he was kind of like, yeah,
I don't know yet.
It's like, I think he's like, some are for offensive spacing, others are for defensive stuff. He's like, yeah, there's a method to his madness, I think. So it was an unorthodox day from Joe, according to Hauser. He was
Isn't every day from Joe an unorthodox day? I mean, he's got a whole offseason to cook up ideas with the confidence of that he just won a championship, but also the desire to not be connected to your immediate past. And so I feel like Joe's going to come in with completely new, crazy ideas because he does not want them to be comfortable whatsoever resting on their laurels. And
it's
so
such
that's
a Norman Dale thing to just come in the first day of practice, not even like a midseason practice, right? But the first day of practice, be like, we're gonna scrimmage with.
You guys thought you were going to score the basketball today?
Oh,
no fucking chance. That's awesome.
Yeah. So I don't think it was a big portion of practice at all. I think it was just a couple of minutes, but some quirky stuff from Joe Mazzulla on day one.
And I like that he has the buy-in of the players. Like, I feel like you're a new coach. You put a bubble on the rim. Some guys might go, "What the hell are we doing here?" But you win a championship and do some non-traditional stuff and talk about weird animals and sandcastles throughout the year. People are going to be like, "All right, I don't know what this is, but I trust him."
Yeah, pretty much just blind faith in Joe Mazzulla and his vision.
I think we also you guys talked to Lonnie Walker today. The big news coming from that is he open to or has talked about playing in the G League with the Maine Celtics. I guess that's kind of to be expected if you sign an Exhibit 10 deal. But the Celtics have not really. I feel like in Brad Stevens' era, the Celtics like to keep that 15th roster spot open, and so I think it's going to be interesting to see. One, just like Lonnie Walker, what he can do in camp. But if he's willing to go down to Maine, that just gives them a little bit more flexibility moving forward. And so it was interesting to hear him just like be open about, that might be a possibility.
And that probably shows a little bit of Brad's leadership, and just the way he approaches that, because he was up front. He was like, look, you come here, you're going to have to earn a spot. Nothing's going to be given to you. It's not going to be like we give you an Exhibit 10 with the expectation it's going to be guaranteed automatically. Like, no, there's a chance you go to Maine. There's a chance you don't earn a roster spot. You got to come to work every day and earn it. And I thought his press conference, I mean, granted, it's not about what you say. It's about how you carry yourself. But he said all the right things. He said he wanted to basically model himself after Drew Holiday and Derek White, and is just watching what they do. He said that he was asked like where his ability to score came from, and he said, I've had it since the womb. He said when he was a baby, if he had a ball in his hand, he was quiet. But if they took it away from him, he would just be crying and whining. And he said, but as you get older, like,
that is kind of indicative in his game because he does like chucking the ball, like does like scoring.
he really loves to score, like since the womb is right. But now it's about, and he said it, he's like, now, I got to prove I can do other things. It's not just about scoring. So I thought he said all the right things. I thought he carried himself like someone who knows where he is in his career, knows that he kind of needs to change the way he's viewed, and in some ways change the way he plays to do that, and seems like he's fully embracing the opportunity with the Celtics. And it's probably humbling in some ways to not have a guaranteed deal and be 6 years in and not know if you're going to stick with a team, especially after he had kind of a breakout season last year, like statistically, but it wasn't enough for teams to give him a guaranteed shot. And now he's here in Boston trying to kind of prove himself all over again. Yeah,
and it's going to be, I just think, interesting to see what he can do. Interesting he's modeling his game after Holiday and White. Like, I think the question about him is like, how much can you lock in defensively and be? Obviously, he can score, but I feel like to play on the Celtics team, they don't really like playing a lot of one-way players. I think that's one of the reasons O'Shea Brissett is not back. Like, he did a lot of good things in terms of energy, but he was just such a negative on the offensive end. And so being a two-way player and being locked in defensively is how he's going to get playing time. He did have this other quote talking about he was a boxing fan, and he asked Joe Mazzulla if he watched the Canelo fight, and Joe Mazzulla said, "I don't watch pillow fights."
He's an MMA guy.
He's a total MMA guy.
And a maniac.
I think we got to, right now, it's the start of a new year. We just got to start putting together the list of crazy Joe Mazzulla quotes and just have it a definitive list, maybe at the end of every month, just try to rank the best ones, because he's definitely more comfortable and definitely willing to say some crazy stuff. So I'm going to start compiling the definitive list of crazy shit Joe Mazzulla says. It'll be something we'll revisit. It's a new segment. I'm trying to come up with new segments left and right. So shit Joe says will be a new one.
I like that.
Any other things from practice today before I wanted to get your perspective on the rest of the top of the East? Anything interesting happened in the Auerbach Center?
Not really. No.
Anything else talk? Tillman, he was there.
Tillman spoke. That was cool.
Sounds pretty thrilling.
Nothing particularly earth-shattering.
He's got his face up on the Michigan State Wall of Fame. I bet Soichi Terada was pretty excited about that. Yeah, did people ask about me at the practice facility? They're like, "Where's Jam?" I assume they did, but you don't have to answer. I'm just going to say your silence is that confirming what I had to say.
Yeah, I'm shaking my head back and forth in a no.
In a yes. In some cultures, I think Albania, that actually means yes. So
this ain't Albania, bro.
Yeah, you can say that again. We have not talked since the Mitchell Robinson news, and I wanted to get your perspective on what impact you think that has on the Knicks as they head into a season where they have a lot higher expectations. They made deals. Like, are they going to start Precious Achiuwa? Are they going to start Jericho Sims? What do you think that does for Robinson? It seems like he's going to be out until January. Because, like, the Knicks, everyone keeps telling me they're the biggest threat to the Celtics in the East.
Yeah, and that comes on the heels of Hartenstein leaving for Oklahoma City. And on top of that, they really rely on offensive rebounding. Their offense really thrives on the glass when Mitchell Robinson is in there, when Hartenstein was in there. Can you replicate that without either of those guys? And so I think it's a big absence. I think there's nobody to play that position on the roster. Obviously, they have tons of wings, tons of guards. Josh Hart will get offensive rebounds. They're a tough team regardless, with a lot of tough players. But that's a major absence, and they'll be able to overcome it and win regular season games, I think. But that kind of changes who they are. If they can't offensive rebound, like, that's a huge deal for that specific team. And
then it puts, like, they're not. I feel like a lot of their offense comes from individual creation by Jalen Brunson, and also with Julius Randle. There's this big Julius Randle question of, like, what are they going to do with him? Are they going to trade him? How does he fit in? I see, like, engaging in bad takes again. Perk saying that if you put Julius Randle at the 5, like, they're going to unlock the Knicks. I just don't think that's sustainable in terms of, like, a long-term solution. And so it's going to be interesting to me how they react to, what if they just struggle in the first couple months of the season and they have all these expectations and they just don't have the size to kind of.
I feel like we're lower on the Knicks as a podcast than, like, anybody in the world.
Do you think that is bias? Because
I don't think it's bias. I think we're just, like, we see their flaws, and I think there's a chance that this team, even though they went and got a big name, and even though Randall's back and OG Anunoby will be there for a full season, and I think it's just possible that they're not great and won't be a lot better than they were last season when they were good and a lot of fun to watch. And I think there's a chance they'll be fun and scrappy again. I just don't know if they're good enough. And if they're not markedly better than they were a year ago, then all of a sudden the expectations are so great that it starts to feel like a failure. So yeah, I actually don't think it's bias. I think it's just, but we view them differently than I think a lot of people do. And if they surprise me, then I won't be surprised. That doesn't really make sense.
No, I was following you there. That makes sense to me. What team in the East do you think are you, like, the highest on right now? Because right now I think maybe I'm biased because I've been living in Philadelphia for a month, but I do feel like the Sixers have the best constructed team at this time to really challenge the Celtics. Obviously everything's dependent on the health of Joel Embiid, but I feel like just, like, adding Paul George, adding Caleb Martin, adding Andre Drummond, like, are all guys kind of, like, they did a good job in filling out the roster. I feel like I'm higher on the Bucks than most, but I still think the Bucks have, like, a deeply much more flawed roster. Me being high on the Bucks is just, like, a underlying belief in Giannis. But if I'm just looking in terms of roster construction in the East, it feels like the 76ers are the biggest threats.
Yeah, I would say probably, but
there you go again, not having a take.
That's why they play the basketball games.
Make a prediction. Have a take. Do you think the 76ers will be good this season?
Yeah, they'll be very good, at least when they're healthy.
It's pretty boring. Do you think they're the biggest threats to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference?
I think there's a chance that it materializes in a way that the 76ers will become the biggest threat to the Celtics in the Eastern Conference.
Yeah, no, I agree. There is a chance that it materializes in a way in which one basketball team could be better than another basketball team. All right, what do you think about extending Joel Embiid and giving him all of that money, given his injury history? At what point does Joel Embiid go over the, can he keep doing it? Can he keep coming back?
He always has. And
but he always keeps getting hurt.
Yeah, and that's the issue. And that's why at the end of the day, they might not be the biggest threat to the Celtics, because you don't know if you can trust him or Paul George to stay on the court. Don't know if you can trust Joel or Paul George once it comes playoff time. And they have questions, but every team has questions outside of the Celtics in the East. The Bucks, is their supporting cast good enough? Are there star guys around Giannis, not including Giannis, too old? Will Doc Rivers be able to unlock something that they never got to last year? I think the Pacers could still be pretty darn good. I wouldn't be surprised if they're one of the biggest threats to the Celtics. If anybody on the Celtics will tell you that was the toughest series they played. The Magic, who knows? If Paolo or Wagner take a leap forward as a shooter, that changes things, and that team could be scary. So right now, I would say Philly's probably the biggest threat. They appear to be the biggest threat, and it could materialize
in such a manner
moving forward.
There's multiple universes that exist in which that could possibly be an outcome, is what you're trying to say.
Yeah. And Embiid specifically will challenge them in ways that their starting lineup at least is vulnerable.
Here's the thing. The biggest threat to the Celtics is the Celtics themselves. It's the threat of complacency, the threat of selfishness. It feels like they have the inner track because of the continuity, because of the talent. They were just so much better than everyone last year. And if they're getting Kristaps back in December, and honestly, they were pretty lucky last year in terms of injuries. I say that fully acknowledging that Kristaps did not play in the playoffs, but they had one of the best regular seasons in a while without having any really serious injuries. And that obviously changes every single NBA year and could change with the Celtics this year. But I do think their depth is positioned in such a way where they can even get over that, as we saw them being, pretty damn good in games without Kristaps last year. But we shall see.
Your bet is well made.
Yeah, ever since you called me out for before the podcast, I have to check and do that military check on the bedspread. So appreciate you, keeping me in check. That's where we're here. It's all about accountability here on Still Poddable, folks. That's the Still Poddable difference. If you enjoy accountability, if you enjoy daily coverage of the Boston Celtics, no other place is going to tell you about playing the games without trying to score. That's a nugget you get from Jay King, because he's in practices. B-Robs is in the practices, and that's the Still Poddable difference, folks. So if you enjoy that, you should go to patreon.com/stillpoddable. Ramp up for the new season. Get daily reporting, because B-Rob and Jay King are there covering the Celtics every single day, and we're going to be here to talk about it every single day, Monday through Friday. Join the chat community. Jay's answering voicemails every single day. We've got lots of stuff for subscribers behind the paywall. And so come join us, be a kid, a god, or a legend. Or don't. You can just stay listening to the weekly version of the podcast. That's free. But however you want to enjoy, we appreciate. And thank you guys for listening to this episode of Still Poddable.
Still Poddable, Still Poddable. The Boston Celtics Still Poddable, Still Poddable.
Oh, yeah.
Go down from eating and drinking and all that wild stuff.